What's up, guys? DJ here, Top Deck Cards and Games. Today I've got a Magic Mono Blue Standard Eldrazi deck profile. I think this deck's really cool. It reminds me a lot of some other decks I've played in the past, like kind of Mono Blue Devotion, where I just play a lot of evasive creatures that beat very efficiently while having a lot of sweet utility effects. And I really like that about the deck. I think it's a ton of fun to play, and if it's off your radar, I think it's worth checking out. First off, we have 2 copies of Endless One. Endless One is a great curve filler in this deck. If you miss like a drop at any certain turn, Endless One will fill it in just fine. It can easily pick up Ghost Fireblade to swing in. And the most important interaction is it gives you a way to pump your Eldrazi Mimic at basically every phase of the game. No matter what turn it is, I can play my Endless One for all of my mana, and it's going to make my Mimics grow. I have 3 copies of Eldrazi Mimic in this deck. Endless One will fill in as a 2-drop sometimes, which is part of the reason I don't feel the need to play a full 4 copies of Mimic. We do have 4 copies of Dimensional Infiltrator as well as a 2-drop. This is a card that doesn't see play in the modern Eldrazi decks, obviously, since it doesn't really get any value out of Eye of Ugin or Eldrazi Temple. But in Standard, a 2-mana, 2/1 Flash Flyer is already great. Devoid is very relevant text in the format because of Ugin, so being colorless is relevant. And the bounce effect has a decent amount of value, being able to dodge removal and stuff in some matchups, especially against control. It just makes you very resilient. Dimensional Infiltrator is just a great card, and one of the reasons that this deck needs to be blue. After that, we have 4 copies of Matter Reshaper, and 4 copies of Eldrazi Sky Spawner in the 3-drop slot. Both insanely strong cards. These cards do both see play in the modern deck, though not always in the same lists. Matter Reshaper is very strong in Standard. It blocks very efficiently, attacks very efficiently, picks up Ghost Fireblade incredibly well. Being able to trade with something like a Siege Rhino or a Tasigur when it's holding Ghost Fireblade is great value. It trumps Kalitas holding a Ghost Fireblade. I mean, Sky Spawner, I don't really need to say much about it. Holding Blade, it is a 4/3 flyer at that point, which is an extremely strong clock. In some other situations, Sky Spawner just smooths out your curve very well. There are other 3-drops I've considered playing. I had 2 copies of Ruination Guide in my list for a while, and I think there might be something there for a version that plays like Ruination Guides, Hangerback Walkers, and takes advantage of the pumping colorless creatures aspect of that card. But the evasiveness of Eldrazi Sky Spawner, as well as smoothing out my mana curve, really made that a good choice to me, and Matter Reshaper has just been great so far in practice. Moving on to 4-drops, we have 2 copies of Whirler Rogue and 4 copies of Thought-Knot Seer. Whirler Rogue has the incredibly strong ability to make our big Ghost Fireblade wielding Eldrazi unblockable. It can do that by tapping those Ghost Fireblades also to make the guys unblockable. So if you have like Ghost Fireblades already in play, for instance, when you play Whirler Rogue, we can just tap our Ghost Fireblades to give our guys unblockable instead of needing to tap our Thopters. Additionally, she makes 2 Thopters, which pick up Ghost Fireblade very well and can be used to give our guys unblockable. So just a really strong card in the deck. Might even be better than a 2-of, though. It's one of the cards that I shaved when I put Endless One in to fill my curve out better and really get value out of Eldrazi Mimic. And then we have 4 Thought-Knot Seers. This card is just as good in Modern or in Standard as it is in Modern, surprisingly. Yes, you're not playing them on turn 2, but in Standard, playing 1 on turn 4 is crippling in many situations. I've seen a lot of players just forced to roast it and stuff, just spend their turn 4, half their mana just playing roast to get their card back, and that can be such a great tempo swing in a deck that can be as aggressive as this one. Additionally, if you have Stubborn Denial in your hand, this does activate Ferocious, which we do play Stubborn Denial, so another key aspect of the card. Finally, we have 4 Reality Smashers. This card is the real deal. Just as strong in Modern, obviously, like I said. No, you're not playing it turn 3, but, who really cares? The way Standard works, playing this guy on turn 4, or turn 5, I mean, mashing in turn 4 sometimes with the help of Eldrazi Sky Spawner can be so strong. Your opponent is always going to be forced to just eat a pile of damage and then normally get 2 for 1 trying to kill it. And that's just a trade that you are always happy to take. You're going to get ahead on cards, get ahead on life, get ahead on tempo. When you can cast this card, you are very good, or feeling very good. The awkward part of Eldrazi, or Reality Smasher Gs, is that it's a 5-drop, and this is a very aggressive deck, so we aren't aiming exactly to get to 5 mana all the time, but obviously with the inclusion in our deck, we are, so we get to play some sweet utility lands to kind of smooth that out. Then we have 4 copies of Ghost Fireblade. This is just an insanely strong card in Standard. You saw it in the Thopter deck a while ago. It just does so much in a Standard deck. Giving it to a Thopter, making it 3/3 is great. Putting on Sky Spawner is great. Slapping it on any of these Eldrazi creatures is just insanely good. So this card really goes the distance, as well as the synergy with Whirler Rogue being very strong. Next, we have 3 copies of Stubborn Denial and 1 copy of Warping Wail. I know a lot of lists max Stubborn Denial, but Warping Wail seemed way too good to pass up in my opinion, so I slipped one of them in over my 4th Denial, and I haven't had any issues yet. Stubborn Denial has been great, but diversifying it to be 3/1 has been very good for me. It has killed its fair share of Jaces, countered its fair share of ramp spells, and in a couple awkward situations has made me a token that allowed me to cast my Reality Smasher that I wasn't finding mana for. Moving on to lands, we have a good amount of utility with 4 Foundry of the Consuls. I've talked about the artifact synergy a lot. I don't think it really can be overstated. Against aggro matchups too, once the game gets fairly stabilized and they're just trying to dash in and cheese you out with like, oh, what's the name of that card? Jeez. Lighting Berserker. Being able to leave up mana and just make these guys to block with has been a real game changer for me, so I think this is probably the best land in the deck. Ruins of Warren Reef is kind of a close second. If you wanted to play a 26th land, I would definitely play a 3rd copy of this card. I don't really like the come into play tapped lands. If I have one turn 1, it's very good, but after that I'm really looking to curve out. So I'm only playing 2 copies of this card, though it does get great value if you flood out a little bit, go into the later game, and still have a way to use all of your mana. Additionally, I have 2 Tomb of the Spear Dragon, which, again, could be another Ruins if you really want to go that route. But I think Tomb of the Spear Dragon is just great. Standard games are generally kind of long. There's a lot of really aggressive decks, and with the use of Tomb, you can just regain enough life that it doesn't matter that you fall behind in the early game sometimes. Though, this is certainly not necessary, and you could shave them for other utility lands if you think you'll get more value out of them, such as the Ruins, or maybe another copy of Seagate Wreckage, which I'm only playing 1 copy of. Seagate Wreckage does give us a little bit of inevitability and control of matchups, though. We play our whole hand, we get to draw 2 cards, and then we're still very resilient against them. Finally, we have our 6 blue pain lands, just blue lands that tap for colorless since we need colorless sources. I split 3/3 on Shivan Reef and Yavimaya Coast for no particular reason because we're playing no colored cards. And then finally we have 10 islands. Congratulations. These are all dual deck islands. This choice was made arbitrarily because I found 10 of them first and didn't have 10 matching full art ones on me. So, you know, you can see that a lot of hard thought went into that decision. Just to talk about some other cards that I've thought about playing or have been in or out of the deck. Ruination Guide is actually quite good. I played it as a 1-of for a little bit. I want to test it as a 2-of. I would want to change my deck a little bit more, kind of to play some of these, and then the 4th copy of Eldrazi Mimic, cut my endless ones, and something else for 2 copies of this guy and 1 of these guys. Or maybe even focus more on the artifact synergy with more copies of Whirler Rogue if I do that, since he buffs the Whirler Rogue tokens as well. Spatial Contortion is really good in the right matchups. It's come in and out a lot. Generally gets relegated to the sideboard, though, since it's so good against aggro decks. It just sits there where it's happy and comes in when it needs to, though it does have the slight application in this deck of pumping up something like Reality Smasher plus 3 power to force 3 damage. And last but not least, we have Drowner of Hope, who I had dreamed would be good in Standard. Unfortunately, when you're casting him for 6 mana, it's not nearly as good as when you're casting him off 4 lands. He doesn't quite make the cut in any Standard matchups that I've played so far, though maybe in a very creature-light, like Abzan matchup where you can lock down their Siege Rhinos and Anafenzas or something, he might be good, but he just hasn't made the cut, hasn't worked out ever, and that's the one I'm the most upset about. There's not a ton of spells you really want to play in the deck, though. You can play more of your creatures. You can play extra Stubborn Denials or Warping Wails. I have tested a second Warping Wail very briefly, which has been very good. It's definitely never a bad card. I'm very surprised at how good this card has been in Standard, especially against like Rally, being able to exile their Jaces and Zolapor Cutthroats and things of that nature. It's got a lot of value against Ramp, countering some of the Ramp spells. Just really strong card overall in the format, I think. But that's the deck list. Just some other cards that I thought about playing, so... You know, let me know what you guys think down below. This deck is a known quantity at this point. This obviously isn't anything mind-blowing or new. I've already posted a red-black Eldrazi deck. I'm kind of trying to work on this theme in Standard for a while. When I saw some pro players messing around with the mono-blue list, I instantly had to try it. So, I've been very happy with the deck, very impressed by its results when playing it, and I hope you guys like the deck too. If you have any suggestions, let me know down below. Questions about playing the deck or matchups, you know, let me know down there. We'll have plenty more Magic content coming soon, so make sure you subscribe to the channel so you can be caught up with all that. And if you're from the Pittsburgh area, make sure you check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/TopDeckCardsAndGames. We have events every week, and we would love to see you guys here. Thanks for watching.